Is Great Britain ready for Kemi Badenoch? Does Kemi Badenoch's leadership command respect from our former country, Nigeria? Let's break it all down.
Kemi Badenoch, 53,806 votes, and Robert Jenrick, 41,388.
It is the most enormous honour to be elected to this role, to lead the party that I love.
Kemi Badenoch is Nigerian by ancestry, as she quite rightly pointed out. She was born in South London, Wimbledon, in 1980. Is it unusual for someone not to have anything positive to say about their former country, as it may be?
Growing up in Nigeria, I saw real poverty. I experienced it. Living without electricity, doing my homework by candlelight because the state electricity board couldn't provide power. Fetching water from a borehole a mile away in heavy, rusty buckets because the nationalised water company couldn't get water out of the taps.
Now, British MP Kemi Badenoch is facing backlash for the comments that she made on her Nigerian descent. In a podcast, Badenoch said that she no longer identifies as Nigerian and has not renewed her passport in over 2 decades. Badenoch added that now she fully identifies with the UK, where she lives with her family.
My main identity is as British. That is what I see myself as.
Kemi Badenoch's ambition is to become Prime Minister of Great Britain, and there is nothing wrong with that. The question is, does Kemi Badenoch have to talk down her ancestral background to gain any relevance? I think the people of Great Britain want someone who is completely at ease with who they are and the whole package that comes with it. That way, you can lead Great Britain from a point of clarity.
Kemi Badenoch rose to the Tory leadership from the ruins of Rishi Sunak's disastrous general election last year. Senior Conservative leaders saw her as the future of modern conservatism. But now, as Will Lloyd found in his brilliant profile published in the New Statesman this week, they have all turned against her. Will joins me now in the studio. Welcome, Will.
Hello, Tom.
So, the mood has shifted. Tell me why.
On Boxing Day, Reform announced that they had more members than the Conservative Party. And so this was a major moment in right-wing politics in this country. Reform now had more members than the Conservative Party. They were bigger. And Kemi looked at the ticker that Reform had set up, which was this automated thing, and it was going up all the time. She decided to go onto X or Twitter and do a thread about how these numbers were fake. Reform didn't have more members than the Conservative Party. There was no way this was possible. Unfortunately for Kemi, the ticker was real. Reform did have more members. Farage goes in for the kill, and he says, "I'm going to sue you if you don't shut up about this." Kemi has not mentioned the membership again. In the 4-day period where this spat happened, Reform gained another 20,000 members, and there was just acute embarrassment on the Conservative side that she had gone out, done the things she'd been doing for years, punchy, combative. I'm right, you're wrong, except actually, no, Kemi, you were wrong.
Is Kemi Badenoch conflicted about her identity? Is she trying somewhat too hard? Guys, please let me know what you think.
There's a tendency for Africans to assimilate themselves. We had this culture in colonial time of assimilation policy. Then Africans who migrate and who want to become leading light, sometimes there is an inverse effects. They become too hostile to their continent. They try to create a narrative of glory versus darkness. And they saw how they could become one of those saviors instead of becoming the savage.
International relations is very important in shaping government policy. Nigeria is a very important partner of Great Britain. And I think it's very important that Kemi Badenoch does not ostracize Great Britain from its international partners, especially when you look at the Commonwealth zone.
Migrants are the source of life in all societies. Rishi Sunak, the former British Prime Minister, is originally from India. A very brilliant young man. He never denigrated his nation of ancestry, nor poured venoms on India. Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the British Labour or Conservative Party. We are proud of her, in spite of her efforts at denigrating her nation of origin. She is entitled to her own opinions. She has even every right to remove the Kemi from her name. But that does not underscore the fact that the greatest black nation on earth is the nation called Nigeria.
The people of Great Britain are looking for a leader who can bring people together internationally and have discussions for the common good. You see, the people of Great Britain and even the world at large can see through you, so they need you to be genuine.
It's virtually impossible, for example, to get Nigerian citizenship. I had that citizenship by virtue of my parents. I can't give it to my children because I'm a woman. Yet loads of Nigerians come to the UK, stay for a relatively brief period of time, acquire British citizenship.
Kemi Badenoch is lying.
Yes.
Because within the purview of Section 25 sub 1C of the 1999 Constitution, our children are automatically Nigerian citizens.
That's it.
If either of your parents is a Nigerian, you are a Nigerian. Whether you were born in the Antarctic or you were born in Australia.
Britain have a recent history of a prime minister who embraced his ancestry. If you ask me, actually, I think it's a position of blessing. I think it's a position of strength where you can use it positively to influence your people, to influence policy and bring people together. It's all about improving relationships, forming relationships, and attracting business for Great Britain. Now, I'm talking about Rishi Sunak. Kemi Badenoch might want to take some notes from him.
I went to a secondary school. It was called a federal government girls' school in a place called Shagamu. And that was like being in prison. When I tell the stories about using a machete and having, because there are no lawnmowers, that's the place that I'm talking about, having to fetch buckets of water. And that was the first time that I was away from home, away from my family.
So it is a lot of people's experiences in various schools that they went to and the standards of the school at the time. But that they pick Kemi to punish is a lie. But you know what pains me is that I have read of British boarding schools with worse narratives. And you know the worst thing? We are a colonized nation. And the people that she's now aligning with colonized and taught our schools this system. They made vernacular our own dialects in our schools. Punished Nigerian students for speaking their languages, which was their mother tongue in the schools. I want to ask Kemi what has changed in federal government Shagamu that she facilitated.
Remember my experience with the police in Nigeria was very negative. And coming to the UK, my first experience with the police was very positive. The police in Nigeria would rob us. So when people say, I had this bad experience with the police because I'm black and they're white, I was like, well, I remember the police stole my brother's shoes and his watch.
His shoes?
Yeah, they took his shoes and his watch. It's a very poor country. So, people do all sorts of things.
The UK police she's talking about was not the UK police officer that raped somebody. What she will have said was to address the case of the UK police officer rather than coming back to the Nigerian police. I'm not saying, please, and you see the delusion a lot of people also have is, they get me wrong. They say, oh, is Kemi not saying the truth? Yeah, the things are the truth. I'm not saying you don't speak the truth. But situate it properly. That's what Kemi is not doing. Secondly, she made another fallacy by saying she doesn't have anything in common with the North. She's a lying person. She lies too much. Go and check. Dr. Bati, you know a lot about languages. Are we now in the same Kwa language group? The Benue Congo Kwa language group? So, according to language and language classification, you have something in common with them. Secondly, she also made another fallacy by saying, no, you can't say, okay, I'm directly Yoruba and not wanting to identify with Nigeria, because this is the country that birthed you. Secondly, she also made another fallacy by saying the people of the North are our ethnic enemies. They are never our ethnic enemies. We don't have any ethnic enemies in this country. You might have disagreements with people from other parts of the country, even with your fellow Yorubas, but it doesn't mean you're ethnic enemies, because And that's why I think the Nigerian government should write the British government about Kemi Badenoch. It is messages like this that spur a redentist and divisive nature.
Yes. The question right now is that is Kemi Badenoch doing herself any favors with the British and Nigerian public? The new Statesman Podcast have a lot to say about Kemi Badenoch. Let's take a look.
Grand figures of the party who knew Mrs. Thatcher look on her and say she is the new Mrs. Thatcher, and then she's promoted into this position, and then they're turning on her in this most awful way, privately, accusing her of sort of really not being British, of being, as you say, an anchor baby, of questioning her loyalty, questioning her ability. And I think this is where the politics come in, the kind of nastiness. They're questioning her ability to be able to prosecute the case against asylum and small boats and all the rest because of that background. That's what they're saying. That's what they're kind of... And so you've got these young right-wingers who are raging against her in this way. There clearly is a kind of a dislike for her based on her own background and the fact that she grew up in Nigeria. They question her loyalty, her sort of understanding of the country, and all of those things. So I find that sad in a way to read that and to see her kind of holed up, miserable, frightened, insecure. And underneath her, there are these people who are basically not just saying she's useless, but saying she doesn't belong.
Kemi Badenoch's image right now is not very good in Nigeria. Her statements has been questioned. She has been fact-checked. This is not very good for international relations. This is not very good for her party, in fact. So, Auntie Kemi, I beg, Ejo, please check yourself before you wreck yourself. Please do subscribe and give me a like.